Hi guys, it's time for another Q&A video, but before we get to that, I want to show you two awesome gifts I got from my parents this Christmas. I've been talking a lot with my parents about my upcoming trip aboard Fiona, and as a result, for Christmas, among a few other things, I got some multivitamins to keep scurvy at bay. I don't really think that's required, but it's certainly very thoughtful. So yeah, scurvy be gone. And seeing as I don't smoke and therefore don't have a real pipe, I also got some licorice pipes. And I just so happen to love these. And I actually got 3 little boxes of these. And there are only 2 left because 1 box didn't make it past New Year's. Licorice is one of the things I miss the most whenever I travel. Speaking of the Atlantic crossing, by the time you guys see this video, I'll be leaving in 24 days. Let's start with some questions from Andrew, who's from the US but is currently living in Germany, a little south of here. When did you first start sailing? The short answer to that question is 2012. Now, if any of you who come across this video are considering giving sailing a try, remember it is never too late to learn how to sail. And if you think you might enjoy sailing, you should go for it. And sure, there are some people out there that like to pretend that sailing is very difficult and very expensive. And sure, if we're talking about something like racing, there's some skill required there. But if we're just talking about lazy coastal cruising on a summer day, I would say I could teach anybody the basics in under a day. And as for cost, sure, if we look back far enough, owning a decent-sized sailboat was something only the very wealthy could afford, but that all changed with fiberglass boats, and maintaining something like a 30-foot fiberglass boat, it isn't really all that expensive. I certainly wish that I had gotten started sailing much sooner. I remember even as a small boy thinking that sailboats were awesomely cool. But I grew up in a part of Denmark where there isn't any recreational sailing, and there's good reason for that. The next time I go back home to visit my parents, I'll bring along the camera and I'll show you guys why. When I finally moved out of my parents' house, I was busy studying, and when I was done studying, I'd already purchased a house that I needed to fix up. And yes, that is the house that I've just sold. It wasn't until my accident in 2012 that I realized that life can be flipped upside down in just a matter of seconds. And I know this sounds cliche, but I realized that time is very precious. And instantly upon realizing that, I knew that I had to pursue my childhood dream of sailing. And well, here I am, 3 years later, living aboard a boat full time, and I'm just about to cross the Atlantic. I'm busy saving up money for my dream boat that I plan on spending the rest of my life aboard. So I guess the lesson here is, if you think you might enjoy sailing, you should go for it. It's never too late. And if you have the dream, you should definitely go for it. I urge you to go for it. The next question is, do you wish you did anything different in your remodel of Obelix? Well, yes and no, depending on the meaning of your question. I wish I'd taken care of both the interior and the exterior of the boat before moving aboard, because now that I'm living aboard the boat full time, I feel somewhat restricted in the kinds of projects I want to do, because this is my home and I also have Jökull here to take care of. I don't really feel comfortable working with epoxy and the fumes from that. So yeah, I wish I'd done more to the boat before moving aboard. And I know this sounds kind of silly, but I feel bad that I have to sell Obelix in a few years without having taken care of the exterior of the boat. But I guess that's something the next owner of Obelix will have to take care of. When we're talking about the remodel, I did consider building a bigger galley, but the space down below is so limited that, yeah, I chose not to do that. The next question is kind of a two-parter. The first part is, what is the latest on your amateur radio training / licensing? Well, not a lot has happened, but that's by design. I plan on doing most of the studying on the trip across the Atlantic. I have the sneaking suspicion that I'll have more than enough time to do that during the 2 months I'll be spending aboard Fiona. As for the second part of the question, what amateur radio equipment will you install on Obelix? Well, I'm a total noob when it comes to ham radio stuff still, so I've asked some of the guys in the local ham radio club if there are any radios that they'd recommend, and they recommended an ICOM IC706 Mark II G. I'd love to hear what you guys think of that radio. The next question is also from Andrew. I saw a video about the inreach SE, that's this little guy. What are some of the other preparations you're making for your upcoming voyage? Well, that's actually going to be its own separate video. I plan on shooting that in a week or two. I am going to bring along quite a few gadgets with me aboard Fiona, and normally I like to travel light, so I'm a bit embarrassed about all of the stuff I'm going to be toting along. For instance, I'm going to be bringing along 8 terabytes of storage. That's 4 of these 2 terabyte drives. That might seem like a lot, and it is a lot, but every minute of video recorded in 4K on the GH4, that's just shy of 1 gigabyte. And that adds up, and I certainly don't want to run out of storage in the middle of the Atlantic. But actually, come to think of it, I've just received 3 items that I am also going to be bringing along with me on Fiona that are going to be a part of the next video. But why don't we just take a quick peek at them and let that be sort of a teaser for the next video. Oh yeah, and I also wanted to show you my new knife. Look at that, it's engraved. How cool is that? Let's take a look at the first one. It's a PLB, and I'll give you a closer look at this in the next video. Eric suggested that I just bring along a lining for a sleeping bag because he has got plenty of blankets aboard Fiona, so this is what I'll bring along for sleeping in, and as you can see, it doesn't take up much space. Now this last one is really cool, and I actually think that might turn out to be its own separate video. That's this little guy. These are 2 water-activated lights that you stick onto your inflatable life jacket. When these light up, the light is diffused by the inflatable life jacket and you become much more visible in the water. I'm gonna take a quick break from recording this video to top off my water tank, because I noticed that my neighbor is topping off his water tank, and that means that when he's done with the hose I can simply just borrow it, so we'll be right back. Oh, it's definitely not warm outside. Well, before ending this video I think I have time to answer one more question, and that question comes from Doug. What do you do as an occupation at this current time, and will it be something that you can continue to do either part-time or full-time after you untie the lines? Well, I think I've already answered that question in the video called The Plan. I'm not sure though, because I am finding it increasingly more and more difficult to keep track of what I have and what I haven't told you guys. But yeah, go check out the video called The Plan. Before ending this video, there's one question I'd like to ask you guys. Now, I've created several playlists. One of them is called All Videos, and that contains all the videos I've ever published. I've also created another playlist called the Introduction Playlist. My idea with the Introduction Playlist was to provide an easy way for newcomers to the channel to get caught up without having to sift through 160 some videos. But I've noticed that my introduction playlist only gets like a fraction of the views that the All Videos playlist gets. So my question to you guys is, when you first found my channel, did you find the introduction playlist useful? Yeah, so yeah, I guess that's it for this video, guys. See you! Yukul and I hope you've enjoyed this video. For more videos like it, click subscribe. Please consider leaving a comment and a thumbs up. It really helps me a lot and I appreciate your support very much. If you're new to the channel, please check out the introduction playlist. If you want to watch every single video I've ever published, check out the playlist named All Videos. It contains every single video listed in chronological order.